Okay, so this is Excel 101. So in this video, we're going to talk about moving, dragging, and continuing patterns. So just FYI, this is a three-part series. So in the previous series, or in the previous video, I talked about basic formatting. So let's just get into it. FYI, I do have a free Excel workbook with all the exercises that I'm going to go through. I strongly recommend that you work alongside me so that you can really learn how all this stuff works. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, so the thing with Excel is that it's very, very powerful in a lot of ways that you wouldn't expect if you aren't familiar with Excel. So let's just start with like the first exercise. So move the word below 2 cells to the right. Okay, so here's the thing. If I click on this cell, so believe it or not, there's a lot of power even just within this little cell block. So you'll notice here, right now, look at my cursor. It's a white cross. And if I bring my cursor over, it changes from a white cross to this like little black cross with arrows. And then I want you to watch this. So you see how there's like that little green box in the bottom right? So if I bring my cursor down this way, now it changes to this solid black cross. And so this is kind of what I mean with like there's a lot of power in this and it can be really finicky. So if I were to just like click on this with the white cross and then try to drag this over 2 cells to the right, it wouldn't happen. And that's because the white cross means that this is for selection. So it has its own use. So when you want to move something, that's actually when you need to make sure that the cell shows these little black crosses. So I'm going to move over 1, 2 to the right. Okay. So first things first, is you've just got to be a little careful with moving. And that's what the black crosses allow you to do. So now let's talk about some of the other features. So one of the really cool things with Excel and just like dragging and things is that it will continue patterns for you. It's actually a very smart program. So what I'm going to do is first things first. So I'm going to click on this 1 here and I'm going to leave my finger on, like I'm going to keep clicking on this. So I'm not going to lift up my finger and I'm going to drag over this way. So I've selected all 3 of these. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that other cross. So instead of using this black cross with the little arrows, I'm going to come down here to this just straight solid black cross. And now that I have these 3 cells selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag over this way. And so this is the first trick with Excel, is that it's smart enough to understand how to continue patterns. So once you kind of get something established, it will just keep going with it. Now, you don't have to just do that. There's still other things that we could do. So let's say that I have some pattern and then I want to continue the 3 for whatever reason. So another thing that you can do is you can click on one cell. So I'm just going to click on the 3 and I'm going to go back to this black cross. I'm going to do the same thing. So now I'm going to just drag over. And now you can see that in this case, the 3 just repeated itself over and over again. And so if Excel only has one cell to reference, like it does here, because we only clicked on the 3 and then dragged over, it's going to assume that you want it to continue a pattern, or that it's going to assume that you just want it to copy. Versus if you select a range of cells, Excel will try to continue that pattern if it's an obvious pattern. The other cool thing though is that you don't have to just copy patterns. So let's say that I have this 1, 2, 3 and I want to continue this as a pattern. So what I'm going to do is once again, I'm going to click on this, drag over while I'm still clicking, release my click, and then I'll come down to this little cross and now I'm going to drag over. Now Excel will default to whatever it did last time, continuing the pattern, but you'll notice that here there is this little box that says autofill options. And if I click on that, instead of having it fill this series by continuing the pattern, I can instead click on this where it says copy cells. And now you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it just continues copying the pattern. So you can have Excel do either. Now, the last thing that I want to show you is that Excel has like a built-in feature when you're going down by columns like this. So if you're trying to drag over like this, you have to drag. But if you have everything set up like in this down format, like this column format, it's actually a little different. So what I'm going to do is, once again, I've clicked on these 3 cells, but now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click where this cross is. I'm going to double click and boom. it auto fills in. So once you have like one column established, Excel is just going to assume that that's how many rows you want filled in. Now, of course, I could continue this pattern if I wanted to, but this is a cool feature of Excel. So Excel in general, like if you double click here, it will just continue on whatever you're doing until that last row. And you don't have to just do these patterns with numbers, by the way. So I could do like the days of the week, and let's see, I think 2 is enough to establish a pattern in this case. So I can double click and it will just continue to fill in the days of the week. Or I could do like months. So you can like think of anything that has like a clear established pattern, and Excel will usually just fill it in. Now, sometimes if it's not clear what the pattern is, it might just end up copying. So you might have to set more squares to like set that pattern. But in general, this is kind of how that works. Now, like I said, you can't double click and have it expand this way. It won't expand left to right. It always just expands down. But that is how that works. So that's the basics of dragging, copying, moving, and continuing formulas. And in the next video, we're going to talk about just some really basic formulas with Excel. So if you found this helpful, consider hitting that like or subscribe button. I super appreciate it when you guys do that. And otherwise, I hope to talk to you guys in another video. Bye!